The apartment manager's hand pressed firm against the door, blocking her entry. "Please, just let me inside. I can pay." "I have nowhere else to go." Her voice cracked with desperation, but his expression remained stone cold. "Homeless people don't get in here. Go back to the shelter where you belong." She tried again, her words tumbling out faster now. "I'm not homeless. I just need—" He cut her off with a look of disgust, eyes scanning her from head to toe. Blood streaked across her swollen face. Her expensive clothes hung in torn strips soaked through with rain. The platinum bracelet that once adorned her wrist was gone, leaving only an angry red mark where it had been ripped away. "Look at yourself," he spat, his contempt palpable. "Blood on your face. Clothes torn, you think I'm stupid." He punctuated his rejection by spitting on the ground between them. "We don't want your kind in this building. Try the black neighborhood across town. They take in trash like you." She stumbled away from that door and from every door that followed, each one slamming shut before she could finish her plea. The city that night was an endless corridor of rejection, of locked doors and turned backs, of people looking through her like she was already a ghost. Until she saw it, one light, fourth floor, the only window glowing in a dark building called Grayson Heights. It stood out like a lighthouse in a storm, like the last chance she had left. She climbed those 4 flights on trembling legs, each step an act of faith, each landing a small victory against the exhaustion pulling her down. When she finally reached that door and knocked, her fist barely had the strength to make a sound. The man who opened that door was a single black father with $11 to his name and one last meal sitting in his kitchen. He had no idea she was worth billions. He couldn't have known that this one moment of compassion would destroy the secrets he'd buried, test every principle he held sacred, and rebuild his entire family from the ashes of everything he thought he knew. To understand why Lamar Turner opened his door that night, you need to understand who he was and what he'd spent 8 years running from. It's 10:30 p.m. earlier that same evening, inside the kitchen of Soul and Spice restaurant. The air is thick with heat and the sizzle of grease on cast iron. Lamar moves like a man possessed, his hands a blur of motion, chopping, stirring, plating with the kind of precision that only comes from 8 years of professional repetition. His movements are mechanical, efficient, the choreography of someone who's found sanctuary in routine. But if you looked closely, if you really paid attention, you'd see something else. A scar, long and jagged, running across his right knuckle, the kind of scar that tells a story he'd rather forget. Jerome Wilson, head chef and Lamar's closest friend, watches him from across the kitchen with the knowing gaze of someone who's observed this dance for 10 years. "You still work like you're running from something, man." Lamar doesn't look up, doesn't break his rhythm. "I'm running from bills, that's all." Jerome's laugh is short, hollow, carrying a weight of unspoken understanding. His eyes tell a different story, they're serious, searching. "I've known you 10 years, Lamar. You never talk about your life before Janelle. One day you're going to have to face whatever you're hiding." For just a second, just one imperceptible moment, Lamar's hand stops moving. The knife hovers above the cutting board. Then, as if forcing himself back into motion, he continues. "That part of me is dead," he says, his voice flat and final. Jerome shakes his head slowly. "Dead things don't stay buried forever." Lamar says nothing because there's nothing to say to a truth he spent 8 years trying to outrun. Instead, he packs the leftover pasta into a container with careful hands. His dinner for tonight, Maya's breakfast for tomorrow. The mathematics of survival calculated down to the last bite. Behind him, the kitchen television plays the evening news, but he's not watching. He doesn't see the photograph that flashes across the screen. A young woman in an elegant gown, platinum bracelet catching the light. The headline reading, "Sinclair heiress missing after calling off wedding." He has no idea that woman is about to knock on his door. He grabs his bag and leaves, stepping out into a rain that's just beginning to fall. It's 11:15 p.m. when Lamar climbs the stairs to the 4th floor of Grayson Heights. The elevator has been broken for 3 months now, another casualty of a building where nobody can afford to complain. He knocks on apartment 4A and misses. Lorraine Patterson opens the door with her usual warmth, 72 years old, smile like fresh-baked bread, the kind of presence that feels like home. "There you are, son." "Maya fell asleep on my couch around 9. Lamar exhales relief. Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. I don't know what I'd do without you. She waves away his gratitude like it's nothing. Don't mention it. That child is an angel. Lamar scoops up his sleeping daughter, 6 years old, braids tied with pink ribbons, clutching a worn, stuffed rabbit named Honey. She's dead weight in his arms, completely trusting, completely at peace. Mrs. Patterson watches them go, but the moment they disappear down the hallway, something changes in her face. The warmth drains away, replaced by something harder, something that looks disturbingly like guilt. She pulls out her phone, voice dropping to a whisper. Nothing new, he's home. Same routine. She hangs up, her face tight with conflict, with the weight of whatever deal she's made with whatever devil is on the other end of that line. Lamar's apartment at 11:45 p.m. is small but immaculate, every surface wiped clean, every photo frame carefully dusted. And there are many photos covering every available wall space, all of them showing the same woman. Beautiful, radiant, smiling like she held the sun in her chest and decided to share its warmth with the world. Lamar Turner, Lamar's wife. Dead 2 years now, but still very much alive in this space, in the way he maintains these photographs like a shrine, in the way her presence fills every corner. He tucks Maya into bed with practiced gentleness, kisses her forehead, breathes in the scent of her hair. Daddy, her voice is small, sleep-heavy. Yeah, princess? I dreamed about Mommy. She said she wants you to be happy. Lamar's throat tightens, words catching behind the lump that forms there. Mommy always wanted me happy, baby. Maya smiles, already drifting back to sleep, already gone to whatever place children go when they dream of mothers they barely remember. Lamar walks to the kitchen, sits at the scarred wooden table, pulls out his wallet. $11. He stares at the stack of bills on the counter, electric, water, medical. One envelope catches his eye, holds it. The logo reads Sinclair Medical Center, the hospital where Janelle spent her final months. The only hospital that accepted patients who couldn't pay full price, who treated people like they were human beings worthy of care regardless of the numbers in their bank account. He opens the container of pasta, divides it exactly in half with the kind of precision that comes from doing this calculation every single day. One portion for him tonight. One for Maya's breakfast tomorrow. This is his life now, counting dollars like they're breaths he can't afford to waste, splitting meals, surviving. He touches the chain around his neck where Janelle's wedding ring hangs. He hasn't been able to take it off. Not yet. Maybe not ever. His fingers find the scar on his hand, an old habit, an unconscious gesture. He always touches it when the memories try to surface, when the past threatens to break through the careful walls he's built around it. A flash of images comes unbidden. Blood, screaming, the sickening crack of bone against bone, handcuffs clicking shut with cold finality. Lamar closes his eyes against the onslaught. 8 years, he whispers to himself, to the ghosts, to the man he used to be. It's over. It's done, but Jerome's words echo in his mind like a prophecy he can't escape. Dead things don't stay buried forever. Knock, knock, knock. Lamar's eyes snap open. 11:52 p.m. Who would come to his door this late? Who would climb 4 flights of stairs in the rain to knock on a door in Grayson Heights at midnight? He stands, crosses the small space in 4 strides, looks through the peephole, and his blood turns to ice in his veins. A woman, young, maybe 30. Her face is swollen, purple bruises around her neck shaped exactly like fingers, someone's fingers. Someone who wrapped their hands around her throat and squeezed until she stopped being a person and became a problem they needed to eliminate. Blood drips from a gash on her forehead, mixing with rain, creating pink rivulets down her face. Her clothes were expensive once. You can still see the quality in the fabric, the cut. But now they're torn, soaked through, hanging off her frame like burial shrouds. Her wrist bears a raw red mark, like something precious had been violently ripped away. And her eyes, God, her eyes. They're the eyes of someone who has run out of places to run, out of doors to knock on, out of hope. Please, she whispers through the door, and even through wood and locks he can hear the desperation. He's coming for me, please help me. Her legs buckle. She collapses against his door, her weight making it shudder in the frame. Lamar looks at her through the peephole, then looks back at Maya's bedroom door. His hand finds the scar on his knuckle again, pressing hard enough to hurt. Every instinct he's cultivated over 8 years of keeping his head down tells him to walk away. Call the police. Don't get involved. This isn't your problem. This is how good people get destroyed. But then he sees the bruises again, really sees them. Someone had done that to her. Someone had wrapped their hands around her throat and tried to erase her from existence. Lamar knows that kind of violence. He's been capable of it once. He spent 8 years trying to prove he'll never be capable of it again. He opens the door. He has absolutely no idea that the woman bleeding on his doorstep is running from a $2 billion empire. He has no idea that saving her will cost him everything he's built over 8 years. His anonymity, his peace, his carefully constructed new identity. And he has no idea that it will expose the secret he's buried so deep, he almost convinced himself it never happened. Lamar catches her before she hits the ground. She weighs almost nothing, like a bird with broken wings, like something precious that's been shattered into pieces too small to count. He carries her inside, lays her gently on the couch, grabs a clean towel from the bathroom. When he moves toward her to wipe the blood from her face, she flinches hard. It's not a small movement, it's violent, primal, her whole body jerking away. Her arms fly up to protect herself. Her whole body curls inward in a defensive posture, so automatic it must have been learned through repetition. Through countless moments where protection meant the difference between survival and something worse. Lamar freezes, he knows that reflex. He's seen it before, in shelters, in support groups, in the eyes of women who have learned that love comes with fists, that tenderness is always followed by violence. That trust is just the prelude to betrayal. He steps back, raises his hands slowly, deliberately making himself smaller, less threatening. "I'm not going to hurt you," he says, his voice soft as a prayer. "I don't hit women, ever. I won't touch you unless you say it's okay." The woman opens her eyes, and for a moment they're wild, terrified, like an animal caught in a trap. But something in his voice, something in the way he backed away instead of moving forward, makes her pause. The wildness doesn't disappear, but it quiets. "I'm sorry," she whispers, and the words are thick with shame. "I didn't mean to, don't apologize," Lamar interrupts gently but firmly. "You're safe here. I promise." She studies his face, really looks at him, then takes in the small apartment, the photos of Janelle everywhere, the worn furniture kept meticulously clean. The evidence of a life being lived with careful dignity, despite its obvious poverty. Something in her shoulders releases, just a fraction, just enough to let him see she's choosing to trust him. "Thank you," she breathes, and the relief in those 2 words breaks his heart. "Thank you." Mrs. Patterson appears in the doorway then, having heard the commotion, come to investigate. When she sees the woman on Lamar's couch, her expression flickers, just for a moment, just fast enough that Lamar almost misses it. Recognition, fear, something calculating passing behind her eyes. It's gone before he can name it, replaced by the warm concern he's come to expect from her. "Lord have mercy," Mrs. Patterson says, voice heavy with practiced sympathy. "What happened to this poor child?" "Someone beat her," Lamar says, his jaw tight. "She showed up at my door." "Did you call the police?" The woman's eyes go wide with terror, and she grabs Lamar's arm with surprising strength. "No," she says, the word coming out like a plea, like a command, like the difference between life and death. "No police, please, he'll find me, he has people everywhere." Lamar and Mrs. Patterson exchange a look heavy with unspoken questions. "Okay," Lamar says carefully, making a decision he knows he'll probably regret. "No police, not tonight." Mrs. Patterson moves closer, studies the woman's face with an intensity that seems out of place, and something passes behind her eyes, something calculating. Something that looks disturbingly like pieces falling into place. "Let her stay here tonight," Mrs. Patterson says, her voice carrying a weight that wasn't there before. "I'll bring some bandages and clean clothes. We can figure out the rest in the morning." "Thank you," the woman whispers, and Mrs. Patterson leaves. But in the hallway, just outside where they can see, she pulls out her phone again, her voice dropping to that same conspiratorial whisper. "It's me. There's a situation. A young woman just showed up at Lamar's apartment. She's injured, beaten badly, and I think it's her." She listens to the voice on the other end, her face tight. "Yes, I'm certain. I'll keep watching." She hangs up, takes a deep breath, smooths the concern back onto her face like a mask she's worn so long it feels natural, and walks back inside with bandages, and a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. By 2 in the morning, the woman is cleaned up. The cut on her forehead isn't deep. It looks worse than it is, all that blood making it seem catastrophic when really it's just angry and superficial. The bruises will heal, though they'll turn uglier colors first, yellows and greens and purples painting a map of violence on her skin. But the fear in her eyes, that hollow terror that makes her flinch at sudden movements, at raised voices, at kindness itself, that will take much longer to fade. Lamar sits across from her, keeping his distance, giving her the space she needs to feel safe. "You don't have to tell me anything," he says quietly. "But if you want to talk, I'll listen." She's quiet for a long moment, studying him, trying to understand why this stranger is being kind to her when the whole world has been so unspeakably cruel. "Why did you let me in?" she finally asks. "What do you mean? A stranger bleeding in the middle of the night?" She looks at him with eyes that have seen too much betrayal to accept kindness at face value. "Most people would have called the cops or shut the door. You didn't even hesitate." Lamar thinks about it. The real answer is complicated, tangled up with Janelle and the person he used to be and the man he's been trying to become for 8 years. But he gives her the simple version, the truth distilled down to its essence. "My wife used to say something. We don't help people because we know them. We help because we can." Tears spill down the woman's cheeks and she doesn't bother to wipe them away. "That's beautiful. She was beautiful," Lamar says, his voice catching. "Inside and out. Was." The woman picks up on the past tense immediately and Lamar touches the ring on his chain. "She passed 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Me too." They sit in silence, the kind of silence that feels full rather than empty. While the rain hammers against the windows and the city feels very far away, like they're the only 2 people left in the world. "My name is Libby," she finally says, offering this small piece of herself like a fragile gift. "Thank you for saving me, Lamar." "You don't need to thank me," he replies, because he doesn't know how to accept gratitude for doing what feels like the only human thing to do. "Just rest. We'll figure out the rest in the morning." She nods, her eyes already closing, exhaustion pulling her under like a tide she's been fighting for too long. Lamar covers her with a blanket, turns off the lights and sits in the kitchen watching over her. This stranger in his home, this woman whose name might not even be Libby. His hand finds the scar on his knuckle again, pressing into it like a talisman, like a reminder. He tells himself he's doing the right thing. He doesn't know that by morning, everything will change in ways he can't possibly imagine. He doesn't know that the woman sleeping on his couch is worth more money than this entire neighborhood combined, that her fortune could buy this building 100 times over. And he doesn't know that someone is already coming for her, someone who would burn down everything Lamar loves, who would destroy every good thing in his life just to get her back. She called herself Libby. She said she had nowhere to go. Both of those things were lies, but the truth was worse than Lamar could have ever imagined. Maya wakes up first at 6:30 in the morning the way children do, fully awake in an instant, ready to embrace whatever the day holds. She pads out of her bedroom in her favorite unicorn pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes with small fists, Honey the rabbit dangling from her hand like always. Then she sees the stranger on the couch and stops, tilting her head with that fearless curiosity that belongs only to 6-year-olds who haven't yet learned that the world can be cruel. She doesn't scream, doesn't run. Maya Turner inherited her mother's fearless heart, and she walks right up to the couch and stares with the kind of directness only children can manage. Olivia's eyes flutter open, and for a moment she forgets where she is, forgets everything except the terror that's become her constant companion. Then she sees the little girl, the braids, the curious eyes, the worn stuffed rabbit, and something in her chest cracks open. "Hi," Maya says with perfect simplicity. "Who are you?" Olivia sits up slowly, every muscle protesting. "I'm a friend of your daddy's." Maya considers this, then her eyes narrow on the bruises. "How come your face is purple?" The question is so innocent, so lacking in judgment, that Olivia almost laughs. "I fell down." It's not technically a lie, though it's not technically the truth either. Maya nods seriously, accepting this explanation without question. "I fell down once at the playground. It hurt really bad." She holds out her rabbit, offering it with the kind of pure generosity that exists before the world teaches you to keep things for yourself. This is honey. She makes the hurt go away. You can borrow her. Olivia looks at the worn, stuffed animal with its button eyes and patched ear, and something fundamental breaks inside her chest. When was the last time anyone offered her something with no agenda, no strings attached, no calculation of what they might get in return? Just kindness, just because. Thank you, Olivia whispers, her voice catching on the words. That's very sweet. Daddy says we help people because we can, Maya explains with the seriousness of someone reciting sacred wisdom. That's what Mommy taught him. Olivia clutches the rabbit to her chest, tears burning behind her eyes, threatening to spill over. Your mommy sounds wonderful. She was, Maya says matter-of-factly. She's in heaven now. Then she leans closer, dropping her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. But I still talk to her sometimes. She talks back in my dreams. Lamar appears in the kitchen doorway then. He's been up for hours, unable to sleep, his mind running through every possible scenario of what he's gotten himself into. Maya, don't bother our guest. She's not bothering me, Olivia says quickly, meaning it. She's wonderful. Maya beams at the compliment, then her stomach growls loud enough to make all three of them smile. Daddy, I'm hungry. What's for breakfast? Lamar walks to the kitchen and opens the refrigerator. Empty, opens the cabinet. A few ramen packets, a can of beans, that's it. And the pasta, the one container he'd brought home last night. The one meal that was supposed to last them both through today. He looks at Maya, looks at Olivia, and does the math that poverty forces you to do every single day. His daughter needs to eat. But their guest, this woman who showed up bleeding and terrified, who hasn't eaten in God knows how long. Who looked at that couch last night like it was the first safe place she'd been in weeks. She needs to eat too. Lamar makes his decision. He heats up the entire container of pasta and splits it onto 2 plates. One for Maya, one for Olivia, nothing for himself. He brings the plates to the table with steady hands. Eat up, princess. Maya digs in happily, but Olivia stares at her plate, then at the empty kitchen, then at Lamar who's standing there with just a cup of black coffee. No food. This is yours, she says, understanding dawning with horrible clarity. This is your food. I already ate, Lamar lies smoothly. No, you didn't, Olivia says, because she's been lied to her whole life and she knows what it sounds like. Lamar says nothing, just sips his coffee, and Olivia looks at the tiny apartment. The bills stacked on the counter, the refrigerator with its bare shelves. The single father who just gave away his last meal to a stranger. Why, she whispers, and the question contains her entire life, every betrayal, every moment of conditional love. You don't even know me. You needed it more, Lamar says simply, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. But your daughter, I'll figure something out. I always do. Olivia's hands tremble as she picks up the fork. She takes a bite and then she's crying, unable to stop the tears that spill down her face. This man has nothing. $11 in his wallet, a child to feed, bills he can't pay, and he just gave her everything. She spent her entire life surrounded by wealth, billionaires, power brokers, people who have more money than they could spend in 10 lifetimes. Not one of them has ever sacrificed anything for her. Not one. I'm sorry, she says, wiping her face with the back of her hand. I don't know why I'm crying. It's okay, Lamar says gently. Sometimes kindness breaks us open. Means we've been closed for too long. Maya looks up from her plate, her eyes wise beyond her 6 years. Don't cry, Miss Libby. Daddy's food is really good. You should smile. Olivia laughs through her tears, a sound that feels foreign, like something she hasn't made in years. You're right. I should smile. After breakfast, Lamar checks his wallet again. $11. Enough for groceries if he's careful, if he buys the cheapest options, if he counts every penny like it matters because it does. Enough to get through another day. He grabs his jacket, turns to Maya. I need to run to the store. Maya, stay with Miss Libby. Can you do that? Maya nods enthusiastically. We're going to play dolls. Olivia feels a flash of panic, unexpected and sharp. You trust me. You don't even know me. Lamar pauses at the door, turns back to look at her with eyes that have seen more than she knows. I know enough. I know you're scared. I know someone hurt you. I know you're not going to hurt my daughter. He meets her eyes, holding her gaze. I'm a pretty good judge of character. Comes from making a lot of wrong choices when I was young. He leaves, and Olivia sits very still as his words echo in her mind. Wrong choices when I was young. She looks at her hands, then at the little girl who's already pulling out a box of dolls with infectious enthusiasm. She looks at the photos on the wall, the beautiful woman who smiled from every frame, Lamar's wife, Maya's mother. She looks at the hospital bill on the counter and she freezes. The logo. Sinclair Medical Center, her father's hospital, the one Richard Sinclair built, the one his foundation funded. The program that helped families who couldn't afford treatment, that treated people like they deserved care regardless of whether they could pay. Her father had been dead for 2 years, but his legacy was still saving people. People like Lamar, people like Janelle. Something clicks into place, something that feels too precise to be random, too meaningful to be mere coincidence. This isn't random, she thinks. This can't be random. Miss Libby, are you okay? Maya's voice breaks through her thoughts and Olivia blinks. Yes, sweetheart. I'm okay. She forces a smile, pushes away the impossible implications of what she's just realized. Let's play dolls. But her mind is racing, making connections she doesn't want to make, seeing patterns she doesn't want to see. She'd run from her old life, from Julian, from Victoria, from everything that had made her existence a prison. And somehow, through all the random chances and desperate choices, she'd ended up here, in the home of a man whose wife was saved by her father's hospital. Coincidence, or something else entirely? She doesn't have time to answer because right now, somewhere in the city, Julian Mercer is hunting for her with the kind of systematic precision that made him successful in business and terrifying in relationships. And he's getting closer. She thought she'd escaped. She thought she was safe. But the man who'd hurt her was already on his way and he wasn't coming alone. Day 2, 4:30 p.m. Mrs. Patterson sits in her apartment with the TV on, volume low, waiting. She's made 3 calls in the past 24 hours, each one more urgent than the last, each one weighing heavier on whatever conscience she has left. On the screen, the news anchor speaks with that practiced gravity they reserve for stories about the wealthy and powerful. The search continues for Olivia Sinclair, the 30-year-old heiress to Sinclair Holdings. Miss Sinclair has been missing for 72 hours after reportedly calling off her engagement to Julian Mercer. Mr. Mercer has offered a substantial reward for any information leading to her safe return. A photograph fills the screen, Olivia Sinclair in a silk gown, diamond earrings catching the light. Platinum bracelet on her wrist. She looks like a princess from a fairy tale, like someone who's never known hunger or fear or the feeling of a door slamming in her face. Mrs. Patterson hears footsteps on the stairs and turns. Olivia is coming down from Lamar's apartment, and their eyes meet. Mrs. Patterson looks at the TV, looks at Olivia, and her face goes pale with the confirmation of what she'd suspected. You're her, Mrs. Patterson whispers, and it's not a question. You're Olivia Sinclair. Olivia's face drains of color. She turns, starts to run, but misses. Patterson grabs her arm with surprising strength for a 72-year-old woman. Wait, she says urgently. I'm not going to turn you in, but you need to tell Lamar the truth. I can't, Olivia says, trying to pull away. If he knows who I am, he deserves to know, Mrs. Patterson interrupts, and there's something hard in her eyes, something that looks disturbingly like guilt trying to masquerade as righteousness. That man has given you everything he has. His food, his home, his trust. Don't repay him with lies. Olivia pulls away and disappears upstairs, and Mrs. Patterson watches her go with an expression that's impossible to read. Then she pulls out her phone one more time. She's definitely the Sinclair girl. What do you want me to do? She listens, and whatever she hears makes her close her eyes like she's accepting a burden she never wanted to carry. Understood. Olivia isn't homeless. She's running from something far more dangerous than poverty. That night, 8 o'clock, Lamar comes home to find Olivia sitting in the dark, her face wet with tears that won't stop falling. Everything okay? He sets down his bag, sits across from her in the chair that's becoming familiar and waits. Libby, that's not my real name, she says, and her voice is so small he has to lean forward to hear her. Lamar sits down, doesn't speak, just waits with the kind of patient silence that invites truth. My name is Olivia Sinclair. The name means nothing to him. He doesn't follow rich people's drama, doesn't watch the kind of news that tracks the movements of the wealthy and powerful. Sinclair Holdings, she continues, the words coming faster now like she needs to get them all out before she loses her nerve. My father built it, $2.3 billion. When he died 2 years ago, I inherited everything. Lamar's eyebrows shoot up despite himself. You're a billionaire. On paper, she says bitterly. In reality, I'm a prisoner. My stepmother controls the company until I get married or turn 31. My ex-fiancé is the man who gave me these bruises. She touches her neck, where the finger-shaped marks are starting to fade from purple to yellow. And right now, both of them are hunting me. Silence fills the room, heavy with implications. Why didn't you tell me? Lamar finally asks. Because everyone I've ever trusted used me for my money, for my connections, for access to my name. Her voice cracks open, raw and honest. When you opened your door, you didn't know who I was. You helped me because I was hurt, not because I was rich. She pauses, looking at him with desperate hope. I needed that. I needed to know what it felt like to be helped without strings attached. Lamar is quiet for a long moment, processing this revelation, turning it over in his mind. So what happens now? They're looking for you, there's probably a reward. Olivia flinches like he's hit her. How much do you need? Whatever it is, I can. She stops when she sees his face. I told you before, Lamar says, leaning forward. I don't sell people. I don't care if you're worth $2 or $2 billion. You needed help. That's enough for me? Olivia stares at him like he's speaking a language she's never heard before. In her entire life, surrounded by wealth and power and people who claim to love her, she's never met anyone like him. Why? She whispers. Why are you like this? Lamar's hand moves to the scar on his knuckle, pressing into it with familiar pressure. Because I wasn't always this way, and someone gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve it. He pauses, and his voice goes soft. Her name was Janelle, and she saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. What did she see? Olivia asks, and she's not sure why the answer matters so much, but it does. That broken people can heal, Lamar says, if someone believes in them. The words hang in the air between them, and Olivia thinks about Julian, about Victoria. About every person who's ever claimed to love her. None of them have ever said anything like that. None of them have ever believed she could be anything other than what her fortune made her. Thank you, she says finally, for believing in me even when I lied. Don't thank me yet, Lamar says, standing up with the kind of grim determination that comes from understanding the stakes. We need to figure out a plan because whoever's hunting you, they're going to find this place eventually. He doesn't know how right he is. He doesn't know that the person he trusts most in this building has already sold them out. Olivia is a billionaire heiress, heir to Sinclair Holdings. She's told him the truth about her name, but she hasn't told him everything. Because the man who hurt her is already on his way, and he's bringing something that will tear Lamar's world apart, proof of who Lamar used to be. Evidence of the violence he spent 8 years trying to outrun. Day 3, 2:15 p.m. Lamar is at work, moving through his shift at Soul and Spice with the same mechanical precision he always does when it happens. Maya and Olivia are back at the apartment, drawing pictures, making up stories, and for a few precious hours, Olivia forgets she's running. She feels almost normal, almost safe, almost like she could imagine a different life. Then she hears voices in the hallway, a man's voice, smooth and cultured and cold as winter. I'm looking for my fiancée, Olivia Sinclair. I have reason to believe she's in this building. Olivia's blood turns to ice. Julian. She grabs Maya, pulls her into the bedroom, locks the door with trembling hands. Miss Libby, Maya whispers, eyes wide. What's wrong? SHH, baby, Olivia says, pressing a finger to her lips. Stay very quiet, don't make a sound. Through the thin walls, she can hear Mrs. Patterson's voice, and for a moment Olivia dares to hope. I don't know anyone by that name. Really? Julian's voice drips with false politeness, with the kind of courtesy that barely masks contempt. Because I have sources that say otherwise. Your sources are wrong, Mrs. Patterson says firmly. Now please leave before I call the police. A pause. Then footsteps moving away, receding down the hallway. Olivia doesn't move, doesn't breathe, doesn't trust that it's over. After 10 minutes that feel like hours, she creeps to the window and peers out carefully. Julian is getting into a black car, expensive and sleek and menacing. But before he does, he looks up, directly at the 4th floor, directly at her window, and he smiles. It's the smile of someone who knows exactly where his prey is hiding, someone who's just confirming what he already suspected. On his wrist, she sees something that makes her stomach turn. Her platinum bracelet, the one he ripped from her arm the night she ran. He's wearing it like a trophy, like a promise of what he'll do when he gets her back. Julian has found her location. That night, 9 o'clock, Lamar comes home to find Olivia shaking so hard she can barely stand. "He was here," she says, the words tumbling out. "Julian." "He found me." Lamar's jaw tightens, his whole body going tense. "Did he hurt you, Maya?" "No," Olivia says quickly. "Mrs. Patterson sent him away." "But he'll be back. Then we need to get you out of here," Lamar says, already thinking, already planning. "I can't keep running," Olivia says, and she grabs his arm with desperate strength. "And I can't keep putting you in danger." "Let me worry about that," Lamar says, but Olivia shakes her head. "No. You don't understand." She points to the hospital bill on the counter, the one that's been sitting there like an answered prayer. "Lamar, your wife. She was treated at Sinclair Medical Center." "Yeah," he says, not understanding why this matters now. "It was the only place that would take her. They had this program for people who couldn't afford full treatment." Olivia's eyes fill with tears. "My father created that program. He built that hospital. He believed everyone deserved care regardless of money." She pauses, letting him make the connection. "He died 2 years ago, the same time your wife was being treated." Lamar feels something shift in his chest, something fundamental changing in how he sees the world. "Your father saved Janelle." His voice is barely a whisper. "His program gave her 6 more months, 6 months to say goodbye, to be with Maya. To be with you." Silence stretches between them, filled with the weight of impossible coincidence. "I think there's a reason I ended up here, Lamar," Olivia says. "I don't believe in coincidences." "Neither do I," Lamar says, and he doesn't, not anymore. Not when Olivia's father saved Janelle's life, not when they were connected before they ever met, not when fate has brought them together in a way that feels too precise to be random. They're connected by something larger than chance, something that feels like purpose. But fate isn't finished with them yet. Because the person Lamar has trusted most is about to betray him in a way he'll never see coming. And his darkest secret, the violence that he's buried for 8 years, is about to be dragged into the light. Day 5:11 in the morning. Lamar gets a phone call that changes everything. It's Jerome, and his voice carries an urgency that makes Lamar's stomach drop. "Lamar, listen to me carefully," Jerome says without preamble. "Julian Mercer didn't find Olivia by accident. Someone in your building told him where she was." Lamar's grip tightens on the phone hard enough to make his knuckles white. "What are you talking about?" "I have a friend who works security at Sinclair Holdings," Jerome continues, speaking fast like he's afraid Lamar will hang up before he finishes. "He showed me some documents. Victoria Sinclair, Olivia's stepmother, she owns Grayson Heights, has for 5 years. The world tilts sideways. "She owns my building, and she has someone inside," Jerome says grimly. "Someone who's been reporting to her for years, watching the tenants, sending updates. The name in the file is Patterson." The phone nearly slips from Lamar's hand. "No, you're wrong." "I'm not wrong, man," Jerome says, and he sounds sorry to be right. "Mrs. Patterson has been working for Victoria this whole time. She's the one who told them Olivia was with you." Lamar finds Mrs. Patterson in her apartment 20 minutes later. She's sitting in her usual chair, knitting like nothing is wrong, like she hasn't just destroyed everything. "You," Lamar says, and his voice is barely controlled, shaking with rage and betrayal. "You told them where she was." Mrs. Patterson's hands stop moving. She doesn't look up. "Lamar, let me explain." "Explain what?" His voice cracks, years of trust shattering in a single moment. "You've been watching me for years, reporting on me, on Maya, and when Olivia showed up, you sold her out." Mrs. Patterson starts to cry, but the tears don't move him. "They threatened to evict everyone," she says, her voice breaking. "Victoria owns this building. If I didn't cooperate, she was going to throw all of us out on the street. You, Maya, everyone. So you chose to betray us instead?" Lamar's words are cold, final. "I chose to protect you," she insists, looking up at him with desperate eyes. "I thought if I gave them small things, they'd leave us alone. I never thought anyone would get hurt. Olivia almost died because of you," Lamar says, and the statement hangs in the air like an accusation that can't be taken back. "I know, Mrs. Patterson says, her voice breaking completely. "I know, and I'm sorry. I was scared. I've lived alone for 40 years. This apartment is all I have. I was afraid of losing everything. Lamar stares at her. This woman who watched Maya since she was a baby, who was there when Janelle died, who he trusted like family, who he believed was one of the few good things in his life. I looked you in the eyes, he says quietly, and the quiet is somehow worse than if he were shouting. Every single day, and you lied to me every single time. He turns and walks away. Lamar, please, Mrs. Patterson calls after him, her voice desperate, pleading. I made a mistake, please. He doesn't look back, he can't. Because if he looks back, he might forgive her, and some betrayals are too deep for forgiveness. Mrs. Patterson is Victoria's spy. Same day, 3 in the afternoon. Lamar returns to his apartment, still reeling from the revelation, his mind trying to process what it means that the woman he trusted most has been lying to him for years. But he doesn't get time to process because Julian Mercer is waiting for him, sitting on his couch like he owns it, legs crossed, smile like a snake that's just swallowed something whole. And he's not alone. 2 large men stand by the door, the kind of men who get paid to hurt people and don't ask questions. Mr. Turner, Julian says smoothly, his voice carrying that upper-class polish that Lamar has learned to distrust. We finally meet. Get out of my house, Lamar says, his voice low and dangerous. In a moment, Julian says, completely unbothered by the threat in Lamar's tone. First, I have something to show your lovely house guest. He looks at Olivia, who's pressed against the wall, and his smile widens. Come sit, darling. You'll want to see this. He pulls out a folder, tosses it on the coffee table with theatrical precision. Do you know who you've been trusting, Olivia? This noble, humble, single father. He spreads the papers out like a dealer showing his cards. Mugshots, court documents, prison records, all of them featuring Lamar's face. Younger but unmistakably him. 8 years ago, your hero here was arrested for aggravated assault. He beat a man so badly he shattered his cheekbone, fractured his eye socket, and put him in the hospital for 3 months. Olivia's face goes white, all the blood draining away. That scar on his hand, Julian continues, clearly enjoying himself. That's where his knuckles split open from punching a man's face repeatedly. Even after the man stopped moving, he leans back, savoring his victory. He spent 2 years in prison. 2 years for nearly killing someone with his bare hands. Olivia looks at Lamar, and he can see the question in her eyes, the doubt, the fear. Is this true? Yes, Lamar says, because there's no point in lying now. His voice is heavy with shame. You beat someone almost to death. He was attacking Janelle, Lamar says, the words coming out flat, automatic, like he's repeated them so many times they've lost meaning. He followed her home one night, tried to assault her. I walked in and I lost control. I couldn't stop hitting him. Even after he stopped moving, I couldn't stop. Silence. Julian smiles triumphantly, sensing victory. You see, Olivia, he's no different from me. We're both violent men. At least I never went to prison for it. Olivia stands frozen, torn between 2 realities that can't be reconciled. The man who saved her, who gave her his last meal, who treated her with nothing but kindness and respect. And the man in those photos, young, angry, capable of terrible violence, capable of nearly killing someone with his bare hands. Why didn't you tell me? She whispers, and the question sounds like betrayal. Because I was ashamed, Lamar says, and his voice cracks open. Because I spent 8 years trying to be someone else. Someone Janelle could be proud of, someone Maya would never have to fear. He meets her eyes, holding nothing back. I didn't tell you because I thought if you knew what I was capable of, you'd never look at me the same way again. Olivia says nothing. She can't speak, can't think. Julian stands, straightening his jacket with practiced casualness. Come with me, Olivia, come home. These people can't protect you. Olivia looks at Lamar, at Maya's bedroom door, at the photos of Janelle on the walls, evidence of a love that transformed a violent man into something gentler. Then she looks at Julian, at the bruises on her own wrists that are still healing, at the cold calculation in his eyes. I need time, she says, and the words feel like glass in her throat. I need to think. She walks out the door and Julian follows, smiling like he's already won. Lamar watches her go, watches everything he cares about walk away, and his heart shatters. Maya runs out of her room, having heard everything, understanding more than she should. Daddy, where's Miss Libby going? Lamar kneels down, wraps his arms around his daughter, holds on like she's the only thing keeping him from falling apart. I don't know, baby. I don't know. Lamar has a violent past. He served 2 years in prison for nearly killing a man. The secret he's buried for 8 years has been exposed. She's gone. His past has destroyed any chance he had at redemption. And Julian isn't finished. The monster is about to do something unforgivable, something that will bring Lamar's greatest fear to life. Day 7, 3:30 in the afternoon. 2 days have passed like years. Lamar goes through the motions, working, cooking, caring for Maya, but part of him is hollow, carved out, and empty. He hasn't heard from Olivia. He tries not to think about where she is, what Julian might be doing to her, whether she hates him now for the violence he's capable of, for the man he used to be. Mrs. Patterson has tried to approach him twice. Both times he walked away without a word, without acknowledgement, leaving her standing there with apologies dying on her lips. He's picking up Maya from school when his phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer, but something makes him pick up. Mr. Turner. The voice is Mrs. Patterson, and she's hysterical, sobbing so hard she can barely speak. Lamar, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. What's wrong? He demands, ice flooding his veins. Maya, the word that comes next destroys his world. They took Maya. Everything stops. Time, breath, heartbeat, everything. What? Julian came, Mrs. Patterson says, the words rushing out between sobs. He had men with him. I tried to stop them. I tried, but they... She's screaming now, completely losing control. They grabbed her and put her in a car. She was screaming for you. She was screaming for her daddy. Lamar can't breathe, can't think, can't process what he's hearing. Where did they take her? I don't know, Lamar. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. This is all my fault. He hangs up without another word. His daughter is gone. Julian Mercer has taken his 6-year-old daughter. The world has just become a very small place with only one thing that matters. Getting Maya back, no matter what it costs, no matter what he has to become to do it. Olivia receives the call 30 minutes later. She's been staying in a hotel, trying to think, trying to decide what to do, trying to reconcile the man who saved her with the man who nearly killed someone. Julian's voice on the phone is ice cold, devoid of any humanity. You have 2 hours, come back to me. Sign the marriage papers or the little girl disappears. Olivia's heart stops. She's 6 years old, she says, her voice breaking. She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this, Julian says with casual cruelty. You made her matter when you stayed in that man's apartment. Now she's leverage. Julian, please, Olivia begs, and she hates herself for begging, but she'd do anything to save that little girl with the pink ribbons and the worn rabbit. 2 hours, Olivia, Julian interrupts. The Mercer estate, don't be late. Olivia arrives at the estate alone, her heart pounding so hard she thinks it might break through her ribs. Julian is waiting in the study, marriage contract on the table, pen beside it positioned with precise intent. And in the corner, tied to a chair with rope that's too tight for her small wrists, is Maya. Tears stream down her face, and she's clutching Honey the rabbit to her chest like it's the only thing keeping her from completely falling apart. Miss Libby, Maya sobs, and the sound breaks something fundamental in Olivia's chest. I want my daddy. I want to go home. Let her go, Olivia says, forcing her voice to stay steady even though she's shaking. I'll sign whatever you want. Julian slides the papers toward her with a smile that makes her skin crawl. Marriage contract. Sign here and here. Olivia picks up the pen, her hand shaking so hard she can barely hold it. She signs, both places, her name in ink that feels like blood. Now release her, she demands. Julian laughs, and it's the kind of laugh that belongs to someone who's never kept a promise in his life. After the wedding is finalized, she stays with us until then. Insurance? You promised, Olivia says, desperation making her voice rise. I lied, Julian says simply, like it's the most natural thing in the world. It's what I do best. Myra's crying harder now, her small body shaking with sobs. Miss Libby, help me. Please, Olivia looks at the child, at the monster in front of her, at the bottle of pills on Julian's desk, his sleeping medication. She recognizes it. She knows exactly what it is and how much would be fatal. In that moment, she makes a decision. The only decision that makes sense. If she can't save Maya by living, maybe she can save her by dying. She grabs the bottle, twists off the cap with hands that have stopped shaking because they know exactly what they're doing. Olivia, no, Julian says, lunging forward, but he's too late. She swallows every single pill, one after another. 20, 30, 40, she doesn't count, just swallows until the bottle is empty. Julian lunges for her, tries to force her to throw them up, but she fights him. If I die, Olivia says, and her smile is terrible, triumphant, you get nothing. The entire fortune goes to charity. Every single penny. Her eyes roll back, she collapses. Julian is screaming, calling for help, but it's too late. The pills are already dissolving, already flooding her system with enough sedative to stop her heart. Julian kidnaps Maya. Olivia kills herself to stop Julian. Hospital, 6 o'clock in the evening. Detective Amanda Collins delivers the news, and her voice is gentle in the way that people's voices get when they're about to destroy your world. She finds Lamar at the police station where he's been for hours, demanding answers, threatening to tear the city apart to find his daughter, promising violence if anything happens to her. Mr. Turner, her voice makes him look up, and he sees it in her eyes before she says anything. Bad news. We found Maya, she's safe. She's at the hospital being checked out. Lamar nearly collapses with relief. His knees go weak, and he has to grab the desk to stay standing. But there's something else, Detective Collins continues, and Lamar looks up. Olivia Sinclair was found at the Mercer estate. She took an overdose of sleeping pills. No, Lamar says, and the word comes out like a prayer, like a denial of reality itself. The paramedics tried to revive her, Collins continues, her voice steady and professional, but she was unresponsive for too long. No, 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 Lamar says, shaking his head like he can make it not true. I'm sorry, Mr. Turner. Olivia Sinclair was pronounced dead at 5:47 p.m. Lamar's knees give out completely. He sinks to the floor of the police station, right there in front of everyone, and he doesn't care. The woman who knocked on his door. The woman he fed with his last meal. The woman who made him feel something he hadn't felt since Janelle died. Hope. Gone. Maya runs to him from down the hallway, throws her arms around his neck, and he holds her so tight she squeaks in protest. Daddy. Daddy, I was so scared. Lamar holds his daughter, and for the first time since Janelle's funeral, he cries. Deep, racking sobs that tear him apart from the inside out, that empty him of everything except grief. I'm sorry, he whispers against Maya's hair. He's apologizing to her, to Olivia, to Janelle, to everyone he's failed to save, everyone he couldn't protect. I'm so sorry. He doesn't know, he couldn't have known. 3 miles away in the city morgue, Dr. Sarah Williams is waiting. And at exactly 3 in the morning, when the world is at its quietest and darkest, Olivia Sinclair's body bag begins to move. He thought she was dead. He thought he'd lost her forever. The police told him. The doctors confirmed it. But death isn't always the end. Sometimes it's just the beginning of revenge. For 3 days, Lamar is a ghost. He goes through the motions of living, makes breakfast, walks Maya to school, goes to work, but his eyes are empty. At night, he sits alone in the kitchen, staring at the couch where Olivia slept, at the table where she ate his last meal. At the space she occupied for such a brief time, but somehow filled so completely. Maya finds him crying once, late at night when she should be asleep. Daddy, are you sad about Miss Libby? She asks, climbing into his lap without waiting for permission. Yeah, baby. I'm sad too, Maya says, wrapping her small arms around his neck. She was really nice. She made the hurt go away. Lamar holds his daughter close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, grateful beyond words that she's alive and safe and home. He'd known Olivia for less than a week, but somehow she'd cracked open something in him, something he'd sealed shut when Janelle died, something he'd convinced himself he'd never feel again. Hope. The possibility of healing, the chance at something new, and now that crack is bleeding. City morgue, 3 in the morning. The body bag unzips from the inside with a sound like tearing fabric. Olivia sits up, gasping, choking, her heart pounding like it's trying to escape her chest. Doctor. Sarah Williams is there instantly, checking her vitals with practiced efficiency, helping her breathe through the panic. Easy, easy, Sarah says, her voice calm and professional. You're okay. The drug worked exactly as planned. Olivia's voice is raw, scratched from the inside. How long was I out? 12 minutes of cardiac arrest, Sarah says, and she says it like it's not absolutely terrifying. Long enough to fool everyone. Maya, Olivia asks immediately because that's all that matters. She's safe, the police have her. And Lamar, Olivia's voice cracks on his name. Sarah's expression softens with something that looks like pity. He thinks you're dead. He's not taking it well. Olivia closes her eyes, pain washing over her in waves. I need to see him. Not yet, Sarah says firmly. Julian is still being questioned. We need to finish this first. Finish what? Olivia asks, and Sarah pulls out a folder thick with documents. Victoria Sinclair, your stepmother. I've been gathering evidence for months. She opens it, revealing documents that Olivia has never seen, evidence of crimes she never suspected. Did you know she murdered your father? Olivia goes completely still. The world stops spinning. What? His car accident wasn't an accident, Sarah says, her voice carrying the weight of terrible truth. Victoria had his brakes tampered with. I have the mechanic's confession. I have financial records showing she paid him $50,000. Olivia's hands shake as she looks at the documents. At the proof that her father's death wasn't random chance or bad luck, but calculated murder. She killed my father, she whispers, and the words don't feel real. And that's not all, Sarah says, flipping to another section of the folder. 25 years ago, Victoria had another husband. Julian's father. He died of what appeared to be natural causes when Julian was 9 years old. She pauses, letting the implications sink in. She poisoned him. Then she took Julian in, raised him, shaped him into exactly what she needed, a weapon she could use against you. Olivia stares at the documents. At the pattern of violence and manipulation stretching back decades. Julian isn't just your abuser, Olivia, Sarah says, her voice grim. He's a victim too. Victoria created him. She made him into this. Police station, interrogation room. Olivia walks in wearing a disguise, wig, glasses, makeup that makes her unrecognizable. Julian is handcuffed to the table, and when he looks up and sees her, he screams. It's a sound of pure terror, the kind of scream that comes from seeing a ghost. You're dead, he shouts, straining against the handcuffs. I watched you die. I have excellent doctors, Olivia says calmly, and she slides the folder across the table to him. Read this. Julian's hands tremble as he opens it. His father's death certificate, Victoria's financial records, the poison she used, the insurance payout she collected. The trail of evidence that proves she murdered his father and then raised him like he was her son. No, Julian whispers, shaking his head in denial. No, this isn't real. She killed your father, Julian, when you were 9 years old, Olivia says, and there's no satisfaction in delivering this truth, only sadness. Then she took you in and turned you into this, into someone who hurts people, into someone who uses violence to control. You think the violence in you is natural, Olivia continues, her voice cold but not cruel. She made you this way. She trained you, molded you, shaped you into a weapon she could use to control me and get access to my fortune. Julian is shaking now, his whole body trembling like he's coming apart. She loved me. She raised me, she raised a weapon, Olivia interrupts. A tool, something she could use and discard when it stopped being useful. Julian's face crumples. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I believe you, Olivia says, and she does. She can see it now. The boy who lost his father and trusted the woman who killed him, who was shaped into something monstrous without ever knowing why. But that doesn't excuse what you did to me. The bruises, the broken bones, the terror, it doesn't make any of it okay. I know, Julian says, and for the first time there's something human in his voice. I know it doesn't. You're going to prison, Julian, Olivia says, stating the facts without emotion. For kidnapping Maya, for assault, for everything. He nods, accepting this, and something in his face looks almost relieved. But before you go, Olivia says, leaning forward, you have a choice. Help me take down Victoria, testify against her. Or spend the rest of your life knowing the woman who killed your father is still free. Julian looks up, and for the first time since she's known him, Olivia sees something human in his eyes. Something that looks like it might be capable of redemption. I'll testify, he says quietly. The monster had become human. The dead had come back to life. And now there was only one person left to face. The woman who had orchestrated everything from the beginning, who had killed 2 husbands and tried to destroy a daughter. Who had manipulated everyone like pieces on a chessboard, she controlled absolutely. Victoria Sinclair's estate, 8 in the evening. Victoria is packing when they come for her. Suitcases full of cash, neat stacks of $100 bills. Fake passports with different names, different identities, different lives she could slip into. An escape plan 20 years in the making, because people like Victoria always have a way out. But she isn't fast enough. Olivia walks through the front door like she owns the place, which technically she does. Behind her, Lamar follows, his jaw set with grim determination. Then Julian, still in handcuffs but walking voluntarily. Detective Collins and a full police squad bringing up the rear. "It's over, Victoria," Olivia says, and her voice is steady, final. Victoria's eyes narrow, calculating even now, even caught. "You're supposed to be dead." "I learned from the best," Olivia says with a cold smile. "You taught me that death can be faked. That nothing is what it seems, that the people you trust most are the ones who'll destroy you." Victoria laughs, but it's bitter, venomous, the laugh of someone who's lost but refuses to admit it. "You think you've won? You think any of this matters?" She reaches into her jacket and everyone tenses, hands going to weapons. But what she pulls out isn't a gun. It's small, compact, deadly, a revolver that fits in her palm. "I built this family," Victoria says, her voice rising. "I made the Sinclair name worth something. I took nothing and turned it into billions, and I'll burn it all down before I let you take it from me." But she doesn't aim at Olivia. Instead, she turns the gun toward the door where Mrs. Patterson has just appeared, drawn by the commotion, her face pale with fear and regret. "Drop the gun, Mrs. Sinclair," Mrs. Patterson says, and her voice is steady despite the weapon pointed at her chest. "It's over." "You," Victoria spits, and her contempt is palpable. "You useless old woman. I should have disposed of you years ago when you started developing a conscience." "You should have," Mrs. Patterson agrees calmly. "But you didn't." Victoria raises the gun, her finger tightening on the trigger. Mrs. Patterson moves. She lunges at Victoria with surprising speed for a 72-year-old woman, a small knife appearing from her sleeve like magic. She drives it into Victoria's arm with precision. Victoria screams. The gun goes off. The sound is deafening in the enclosed space. Mrs. Patterson falls. Lamar reaches her first, catching her before she hits the ground. Mrs. Patterson lies on the floor, blood spreading across her chest in a dark bloom, and Lamar presses his hands against the wound, trying to stop it. But there's too much blood. It's coming too fast. "Mrs. Patterson," he says, his voice breaking. "Don't talk. Save your strength. We'll get you help." "No," she says, and she grabs his hand with surprising strength. "I need you to know I was wrong. I was so scared of losing my home that I lost myself." Her eyes find his, desperate for him to understand. "Don't ever let fear turn you into someone you're not." Lamar's tears fall on her face. "I forgive you," he says, because in this moment, with her dying in his arms, nothing else matters. "I forgive you, Mrs. Patterson smiles, and it's peaceful, like she's been carrying a weight for years and finally gets to set it down. "Tell Maya," she whispers. "Tell her I loved her like my own grandchild." "I will," Lamar promises through his tears. "I promise." And Lamar, her voice is fading now, getting quieter. "Yes, be happy. Janelle would want you to be happy." Her eyes close. Her hand goes limp in his. Mrs. Lorraine Patterson is gone. Lamar holds her and weeps. This woman who betrayed him and died trying to make it right, who was flawed and scared and human. Victoria is handcuffed and dragged away, still screaming, still fighting. The evidence is overwhelming. Murder, fraud, conspiracy, a trail of bodies stretching back decades. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison, which is exactly what she deserves. Julian watches her go, his face empty, hollow. "I loved her," he says quietly to no one in particular. "I thought she loved me." Olivia stands beside him, and for the first time she feels something almost like pity. Monsters don't love Julian, they consume. They take everything and give nothing back. "What happens to me now?" Julian asks, and he sounds younger than he is, like a child asking what comes after the story ends. "You testify," Olivia says. "You serve your time. You take responsibility for what you did." She pauses, considering her next words carefully. "And maybe you find out who you were supposed to be before she broke you." Julian nods slowly, like he's accepting a burden he always knew he'd have to carry eventually. For the first time in his life, he looks like a human being capable of change. The villains are gone, the truth is exposed, justice has been served. But the hardest battle is still ahead. The battle to build something new from the ashes of everything they've lost, to transform tragedy into hope, to prove that broken people really can heal. 6 months later, grand opening day. The sign above the door reads, Janelle's Table, in elegant script that catches the afternoon sunlight. It's a small restaurant, intimate and warm, with lighting that makes everyone look beautiful and the smell of home cooking that makes you feel safe. Photos cover every wall, Janelle Turner smiling her radiant smile, captured in moments of joy. Richard Sinclair, distinguished and kind, the man whose hospital program saved lives. Mrs. Lorraine Patterson, smiling like fresh bread, the woman who made mistakes but died trying to fix them. All of them together, all of them honored, all of them remembered. Lamar stands in the kitchen wearing a white chef's coat with his name embroidered on the chest in thread, the color of Janelle's favorite flowers. Jerome works beside him, head chef, best friend, brother in everything but blood. They move together with the kind of synchronization that comes from years of working side by side, understanding each other without words. Maya runs through the dining room helping set tables, her braids tied with pink ribbons now, Honey the rabbit tucked under her arm like always. She's grown in the past 6 months, gotten taller, but her smile is still pure joy. And Olivia stands at the hostess stand, welcoming guests with genuine warmth, smiling like she's finally found where she belongs, like she's finally home. The door opens, and everyone goes quiet. Julian walks in wearing a prison jumpsuit, handcuffs on his wrists, 2 officers escorting him. The room holds its breath. I asked for 5 minutes, Julian says, his voice steady. Before I start my sentence. Lamar nods, his jaw set. Speak. Julian looks at Olivia, and there's no manipulation in his eyes now, no calculation, just raw honesty. I don't deserve forgiveness. I know that, what I did to you, there's no excuse, no justification. He swallows hard, and his voice cracks slightly. But I want you to know I'm going to spend every day trying to be different. In prison, I'm starting a program for men like me, men who were taught that violence was love. Men who need to learn another way. Olivia studies him, really looks at him, and she sees it, the beginning of change, fragile and uncertain, but real. That's a start, she says quietly. It's all I have, Julian replies. He turns to leave, then stops and looks back at Lamar. Take care of her, he says, and it sounds like a request, like permission, like letting go. She deserves someone good. Lamar meets his eyes and nods. I know. Julian is led away, and the door closes behind him with quiet finality. The room exhales, and slowly the warmth returns. That night on the rooftop of Grayson Heights, the city spreads out below them like a blanket of lights. Lamar and Olivia sit side by side, close enough to touch but not touching yet, both of them knowing this moment matters. Lamar holds the chain around his neck, Janelle's ring catching the starlight. She told me something once, he says softly. She said, if I go first, don't turn your heart into a museum. Let it be a home. He unclasps the chain, holds the ring in his palm, feels its weight one last time. I'll always love her. She made me who I am. She saw something in me when I was at my worst and believed I could be better. I know, Olivia says, and her voice is gentle, understanding. But I love you too, Lamar continues, turning to look at her. You knocked on my door bleeding and broken. You brought chaos and danger and everything I didn't want, but you also brought light. You made me feel alive again. You made me believe that broken things can be fixed, that second chances are real. Olivia's eyes fill with tears. I'm terrified, she whispers. Everyone I've ever loved has hurt me. Everyone I've ever trusted has betrayed me. I won't hurt you, Lamar says, and it sounds like a vow, like a promise sealed in something stronger than words. I promise you that. He takes her hand, and his grip is gentle but firm. Stay, build something with me, not because of money or power or any of that, just stay because you want to. Because we make each other better. Because we deserve a chance at happiness. Olivia looks at him, this man who gave her his last meal when he had nothing, who faced his demons to protect her, who loved her before he knew her name. Who proved that goodness can exist without conditions. I'll stay, she says, and the words feel like coming home. They kiss, and it's gentle and sweet and full of promise. Somewhere Lamar is certain Janelle is smiling. Somewhere Richard Sinclair is proud of his daughter. Somewhere all the ghosts are finally at peace, 1 year later. The apartment is bigger now, nicer. with actual furniture that matches and a refrigerator that's always full. But it's still in Grayson Heights because Olivia bought the building and turned it into affordable housing, made sure no one would ever be evicted for being poor, made sure it would always be a place where people could find safety. At dinner, Maya looks up from her plate, her eyes serious in the way that children's eyes get when they're about to ask something important. "Miss Libby," she says carefully, "are you my new mommy?" Olivia's breath catches in her throat. "Do you want me to be?" she asks, because this isn't a question she can answer for Maya. It has to be Maya's choice. "Yes," Maya says with absolute certainty, "but Honey says you have to promise to stay forever." "I promise," Olivia says, and she means it with every fiber of her being. "I'm not going anywhere." Maya smiles, and it's like the sun coming out. "Okay then, you're my mommy now." On the wall, 4 photos hang side by side in matching frames. Janelle Turner smiling like she holds the sun. Richard Sinclair, distinguished and kind. Mrs. Lorraine Patterson, the flawed woman who died trying to be better. And the new family, Lamar, Olivia, and Maya, standing together, smiling together, building something new from the ashes of everything they lost. Past and present, loss and hope, endings and beginnings. All of it together, all of it honored, all of it part of the story. That night, after Maya is asleep, Lamar and Olivia sit on the couch where it all began. "When that knock came," Lamar says softly, "I could have ignored it. I could have kept my last meal for myself and Maya. I could have protected my secrets, kept my head down, stayed safe. But you didn't," Olivia says. "No," Lamar agrees. "I opened the door, I gave what I had, I faced what I feared. And it changed everything." He looks at her and his eyes are full of wonder. "You saved me just as much as I saved you." "We saved each other," Olivia corrects gently. "That's how it works. That's how broken things become whole. Sometimes the person you save will save you right back. Sometimes the one who betrays you will die to make it right. Sometimes your enemy is also a victim, trapped in patterns they didn't create. And sometimes the last meal you give away becomes the first meal of a brand new life. A life built on sacrifice and second chances, on forgiveness and faith. On the radical belief that people can change if someone believes in them enough.